Okay, on today's episode of Today's Investor, we're with Chris Carrillo, and we talk about a little bit of the cash flow board game. We talk about how to get started in real estate and the power of mentorship to help you accomplish your goals.
Well, hopefully it's exciting, and hopefully you stay tuned and watch the entire video.
Don't miss any of it.
I'm all over the place, but listen closely. There's a lot of golden nuggets inside there.
Welcome everyone, welcome to today's Investor. This is a special episode because we are here in the heart of San Antonio, Southtown San Antonio, and we have a special honored guest, Chris Carrillo. He's a very influential person here in the San Antonio area in the real estate market. He's done a little bit from your smallest deal all the way up to some large apartment complexes, and we have the privilege of having him here to talk about his experiences, what he's learned along his career from the beginning to now. So welcome, Chris.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's been a long time overdue for us getting together.
That's right. I'm excited to do this. So tell a little bit about yourself and what you're doing now.
Okay, awesome. Well, first off, let me start off by saying, me personally, I'm a poor kid from the projects here in San Antonio. I was born and raised in the West Side. Luckily for me, at the time when I was a kid, I thought it was a curse, but I moved 16 times by the time I was 16 years old, right? I was
one every year, man.
Yeah, just about. I mean, by the time
it's your birthday, let's move.
Now I was like, hey, the rent's due, let's move now.
That'll do it.
So born and raised on the West Side, grew up in the courts, right? And so I hated moving around. I really despised it. I wanted to be that kid I wanted to be that guy. As when I grew up, I said, man, I don't ever want to do this. I want to be rich, right? And so I went on the journey. I started a lot of personal development. I read books all the time. I went from knowing nothing to, by the time I was 24, I bought my first rental property. But the reason I bought that rental property was to pay for my daughter's private school, right? I grew up poor. I didn't want my daughter to have that privilege of growing up poor. So I went after that first rental property that put her in a position to have the education that I was privileged to. And so that's part of what got me on that path to start investing in real estate.
That's awesome. Here in San Antonio, Chris is very well known. There's a lot of people that seek him out to learn from him. And I know that you made real estate kind of your focus as far as what you put your efforts in, your passions into. What kind of got you, you hinted towards it a little bit, but what got you into real estate specifically? Why did you want to get into the real estate realm?
Yeah, definitely. So I came across a video on YouTube that introduced me to a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad. That specific book helped expand my mind on what the possibilities are with your potential, right? And so
that book did it for me too.
Did it do for you? Yeah, did it for a lot of people, right? And so
best-selling personal finance book of all time,
26 million copies. Yeah. I can't wait till I get there with one copy.
I have a few of those copies.
Yeah, same. All right. So that book opened my mind. Hey, you know what? Go to learn how to invest, and that's exactly what I did, right? So bought that one book. It began the journey. Yeah.
So really, you picked up Rich Dad Poor Dad, and you learned some concepts in there around investing, and he's a big proponent of cash flow.
Cash flow, yeah.
And one of the best ways to generate cash flow is real estate.
Yeah, especially with rental properties, cash flow producing investment grade real estate. One thing that I got from that book was the board game cash flow, right?
Yeah.
I spent hours and hours and hours.
We've played that a few times.
We played that a few times. A big part of what I'm trying to do now is that book, that game, and that book help expand my mind, right? So my objective with that board game is to now get that into the hands of disadvantaged children. In addition to everything, yeah, I forgot to tell you about that. Disadvantaged children. I was visiting local foster home distribution where they basically place children, and I want to help those disadvantaged children.
That's
because
awesome,
if
man.
I say if the young Chris at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 was able to get a hold of that board game,
sure,
who knows where I would be now, right? It would have put me on the path at an early age and altered my trajectory, where I would have who knows, right? So that's part of what I'm trying to accomplish here in San Antonio, saying that influence, right? Let me go and influence these young children.
Sure. At a critical age,
Very
where
critical age.
the sky's the limit, and they can open their mind to all the possibilities rather than the reality of the world. That's really awesome. So explain the board game, because there's some people that don't really know about cash flow, and they may have heard about it, but why would a board game be so influential?
So what happens is that board game, it penetrates the subconscious thought process, right? You know, as individuals, if I put a $100 bill right in front of you and I light it on fire, your emotions are going to go through the roof and say, hey, you're crazy, what are you doing? What that board game does is it penetrates that fear-based mentality of saying, you know what, let me train you how to operate with your personal finances, how to invest your money without being afraid of losing that money, right?
Right.
And so what it does...
Because you're in a safe environment, which is the game.
Right, and it trains that subconscious thought process, which is 500,000 times more powerful than the conscious mind. So what does that do? It trains that mind to say, okay, this is the right way to operate with my finances. There's a lot of individuals that go out there, a lot of people know how to make a lot of money, right? But very few people know how to keep that money, and almost nobody knows how to multiply it. So what that game does is it trains at an adolescent age or being senior age, right? How to go take your money, invest it, keep it, so you keep it secure, and then multiply it. That's kind of what I did with my journey in real estate. Luckily for me, I dug a deep foundation on what it takes to create a long-term generational wealth that I could pass on to my child, right?
Yeah, that game is basically like Monopoly on steroids.
Yeah.
It takes real world scenarios where an investment deal comes across as a playing card, and you can decide if it's a card that's going to, an investment that's going to work for you or not, and you can really find out how you would react to certain situations.
Correct.
Whether you would pursue it or not, or maybe if you're going to pay down your student loans or your mortgage.
Or if I got to go buy another rental property, right?
Yeah, it even has doodads if you want to get a big screen TV, those type of things.
Yeah, so let me give you an example, right? There's a lot of individuals out there that they'll make that money, and then they're going to go repeatedly in their mind, right? Money just makes you more of what you already are. So what does it do? I'm going to go take that money and go buy more doodads, right? Or I'm going to go increase my lifestyle. Well, crap. What if the market crashes tomorrow? You don't have anything to sustain that lifestyle, right? So what did I do for myself, and what I teach other individuals, and what do I want to teach those young children, right, that don't have somebody to help guide them, is take that money, put it in a cash flow producing asset, and then progress as time, progress with those investments. So the one example that I love to give people is past couple of weeks, I was working on 4 deals, right? So 2 wholesale deals that made me $15,000 within short period of time, right? The average individual, 95% of society, what would they have done? Maybe paid some debt down, maybe went and bought a nice car, maybe paid down their credit card debts. What did I do? I took that capital and I bought 2 rental properties. 2 rental properties that increased my net worth by $65,000. That gave me an additional $1,000 a month in passive income. So let's just give you an example, right? And I'm just speaking off script here. If the average individual the average individual in America makes $54,000 a year. After taxes, that equates to about $3,200 a year. Yep. So in essence, and this is for educational purposes for you out there, right? Real quick disclosure: I'm not a CPA, I'm not an attorney, I'm not a CPA attorney. I highly encourage you to consult your professionals before taking any advice from me. But this is what I've done, right? And so use it as an idea.
You're just a guy telling what you've learned.
Just a guy, what I would do, right? We're just having a conversation here over coffee. So take that money, bought those rental properties. Those rental properties. What is it doing now? It's producing $1,000 a month in passive income. The average America, $3,200 a year. That is a third of what it would take to retire one person. Let's go get 4 more of those and do the exact same thing, right?
Yeah, that's an amazing concept you just mentioned that I want to highlight, is that you basically, by your own efforts and doing these deals, you were able to generate $15,000.
Yeah.
With that $15,000, you were able to leverage that money to control assets that were over hundreds of thousands of dollars. And by controlling those assets, you're able to generate the cash flow. You have some tax incentives because of that. You have equity that's only going to increase over time.
As time progresses, yep.
And now you have these assets that in the future you're going to roll over and get even bigger assets. And that's the whole definition of the green houses and red hotel. You just keep going and going and growing. And you did this in a short amount of time.
Yeah, sure. It was roughly 4 weeks. 4 weeks created that type of.
Talk about a good month.
Yeah, that is a pretty good month, right? One a week kind of thing. And that's just a small example. But going back to when I first got started, and I was just kind of jumping into that part just because it's so exciting to talk about stuff like this. And me, my mind is like, I got ADD. I'm all over the place. But the message that I want to get across is, it doesn't take much, right? Poor kid from the projects here in San Antonio. Moved 16 times by the time I'm 16 years old. 24 had my first rental property, and between 24 to 29, worked for a local organization, teaching hundreds of seminars, helped guide a lot of people through the process of just getting started, right? Just getting started investing, open their mind that it's possible, right? And in between that, establish a pretty decent portfolio that would make any kid from the projects happy, right? It
proud.
Put me in a pretty decent position. But there's also those trials and tribulations that stop people from progressing. Luckily for me, I was given a strong enough why that helped me push through tough times, right? So knowing that you can get past wherever you were brought up. What does Bill Gates say? Bill Gates says that if you're born poor, it's not your fault, but if you stay poor, it is your fault, right? So I live with that philosophy because I read all the time, right? I'm consuming, at least right now this year, I'm consuming nothing but books that were written by billionaires. So that's my frame of thought.
That's a good filter.
Yeah, it's filter. I was like, this guy's a billionaire. I think he knows what he's talking about.
You're all like 900 million?
Nope.
Next.
Yeah. So where was I at? Yeah, so the tough times, right? Having a strong enough why. This past 2 years ago, I was lucky enough, right? I always consider trials and tribulations as being blessed because I don't ask, hey, God, why me? I say, thank you, God, for letting me be me, right? And so I lost my brother in an 8-month time frame, right? I had a situation where I lost my brother, I lost my mom, I lost my dad, and an 8-month time frame. And most people I would consider would have been wiped out.
Yeah.
I was this close.
Yeah.
I was this close. I almost saw it. It was that close to being completely wiped out. But I heard Oprah say this one thing. I don't know, right? I was going through my trials and tribulations, and I heard Oprah say, "You are not allowed to have a dream if you were not built to fulfill it." So I have dreams of helping.
Big dreams.
Big dreams, right? Like I'm always talking about it on Facebook. If you have Facebook, go and friend me on Facebook, right? Chris Carrillo, right? So
follow this guy on Facebook. He gives good information and he's a lot of fun to watch.
So I always post my videos, right? The real quick 90-second clips of the next house that I'm working on. But having those big dreams, what is your why, right? What is that why that's going to get you past those trials and tribulations? And for me, I told my mom when I was 10 years old, I said, "Mom, by the age of 30, I will have 7 figures to my name." And I was able to accomplish it. And then I had to backtrack just because of a lot of things, right? And then rebuild from that. And as she was parting ways, I told her I'm gonna make her proud one more time. And didn't realize what I meant by it at that time, but it felt that it was the right thing to say.
It was a declaration.
It was a
young age.
declaration, right? And it was actually not too long ago. It was about 18 months ago. And I realized that my objective is to to make her proud one more time, one person at a time.
Hey, I like that.
One person at a time. And so the part of me talking about and being so excited, jumping into the interview with the cash flow board game was I reached out to foster home, right? I want to help those disadvantaged children out with the financial education, help increasing Robert Kiyosaki's Rich Dad philosophy is to help increase the financial well-being of humanity. Yeah. And so that resonates with my spiritual mission. If you took away everything that I have, you took away every monetary item, that would be why I was put on earth. And so I found that reason, right? And so I bought a bunch of board games last year, and I bought a bunch of board games out of my own pockets to go distribute to foster homes, and then boys and girls clubs, and local YMCA's.
That's awesome.
To starting here in our backyard right here in San Antonio. So that's what I'm whenever that's what I'm striving to do, right? Like my monetary benefits that I come from real estate, right? Because real estate's going to happen.
Right.
I can take care of 3 really important people, and it takes a long time for a lot of people to realize this, but I can take care of 3 really important people. You can take care of 3 really important. Well, now you got 2 other people, but before your family, it was the 3 really important people were who? Me, myself, and I. Mm-hmm. I could take care of that all day long.
And sometimes even that's a struggle.
And even that's a struggle for most people, right? But helping those individuals out really helps me realize what my mission on earth is. And at the same time, I do help and guide other individuals that are looking to get started investing, because teaching somebody how to create from nothing, I mastered that, right? I mastered being able to go from the project, and I keep on pointing over here because the projects are right down the street, but that's where I grew up. But
it's turning into the nicest part of town now.
It is, right? Like the regentrification is just crazy. But I can go from nothing, right? You take me and throw me in another part of the country, and I'll go create from nothing. And I can teach people how to do that, right? Let's just go find a deal.
Because it's mentality.
It's all the stuff, right?
It's vision. You're creating your reality.
Exactly, right? And so I can go out there, create, and it's not to say, hey, look at me, I'm great. It's look how great you can become, and what I can do to help you, right? And so that was my philosophy. Anytime I taught seminar, I think I taught about I'd say right under 500 seminars, and so
that's amazing.
It was tough the first couple, right?
Sure.
And then I learned that it wasn't about me; it was about helping those individuals out, right? Darren Hardy, speaking to him, right? Had the opportunity to speak with him at his conference. He said, it's not about you, Chris. It's people don't want to hear how great you are. People want to hear how great they can become, mm-hmm. and what you can do to help them.
Yeah.
And so if it's one piece of information, if it's one word of encouragement, if it's one piece of enlightenment to help them progress in their careers in investing or whatever scenario they are in life, what can you do to help that next person, right? And by default, I kid you not, when you pay it out, it's like buckets coming back to you. People are, we're always looking at what can I get for myself, right? How can I take care of me, right? How can I look after myself? But I kid you not, when you look after helping your fellow man out first, it's take everything away, and I kid you not, you will be provided for. And that's a philosophy that I live and die by, to be honest with you. So yeah, so now helping those individuals out, helping other individuals get started in their investment careers. Here pretty soon in the next months to come, be getting ready to launch a pretty big real estate investment organization, and so that's kind of why we're here today, to make that somewhat of an announcement, soft announcement, as soon as some paperwork is cleared up. For
That's
those that
awesome.
are listening.
That's awesome, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
So Chris, you talked about how you mentor people, you help people, you have an exciting new program to help individuals.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I know when you talk about real estate, there's a lot of people out there that want to get involved in real estate. They want to become a real estate investor. Even that kind of has to some people has a sexy feel to it. They want to be that investor. But a lot of people think about it and think about it and think about it and haven't done that deal for a year, 2, 3 years. What is it that people need to take that first step to actually start their real estate career, to actually start the progression to building their own cash flow or building their own equity?
Or just getting their first property, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So my frame of thought is very few people know how to create money. Even fewer people know how to keep it. And almost nobody knows how to multiply it, right? In America, there's a parity. There's starting to become people are starting to become aware that there's a lot of people that have, and then that parity between the people that don't have, the gap is starting to get wider. and it's going to continuously get wider, right?
Right.
So there's other organizations out there that can help these individuals out, these individuals that have that capital already, right? Well, what about the 95% of other people that don't have the capabilities of starting to jump into those bigger properties, right? Well, that gap, I feel that with what I've been blessed, right? I've been blessed with being able to start from here, and then go here, and then jump to here, right? Going to from wholesaling to flipping to single family rental properties, and then apartment complexes, right? Well, very few people know how to create. So that's where my frame of thought is. I was blessed enough, and I think the reason for me having to rebuild a lot of stuff was to understand how to empathize with those individuals. How do I start? Well, so what do? I created a system where it's really I feel like I'm a Michael Dell of real estate, right? It's everything's already out there.
Are you working out of your garage?
I am not working out of my garage.
All right, it'll still pass.
It'll still pass, right? Just take a picture of the house that I live, right?
But you're working on garages.
I'm working on garages. Yeah, that's very true. There's some other things I'm definitely working on. Helping those individuals, right? Like let's just go get what do I do? Let's just go get you one house from nothing. Let's all those things that are already out there. Like I said, feel like Michael Dell just gathering all this information. Let's repackage so where the masses can then utilize that for their advantage, right? So that way they can create from nothing. I've taught some individuals that are banging stuff out of the water, right? I mean, they're banging things, hitting out of the park. Mm-hmm. One guy that I worked with, in 8 months, he's done roughly 40 deals.
Wow.
That's
impressive.
Yeah. Definitely. He's done a lot of stuff just because he took what I taught him, and then he took his natural skill set.
And he just started?
He just started within that time frame. Yeah, and so it's just figuring out where you at, and let's help you get to where you want to be, right?
Right.
So teaching that individual or other individuals how to create from nothing, go out there, cultivate a deal. Let's just say you have 2 kids, right? You have 2 high school kids. Mom, dad have twins. One opts to say, you know what, I'm going to go follow the 40-40-40 plan, right? Go work at a company for 40 years, for 40 hours a week, and hope and pray they can retire off of 40% of the income they could barely afford to live off in the first place, right? And then you have another kid that says, you know what, let me work with a local guy here named Chris, right? Oh, me. Take that individual and teach them how to create enough passive income or create capital to then hold it to create passive incomes to meet and exceed their obligations within let's just say a 2-year time frame. 2-year time frame, go from nothing to being able to have enough income to where you're basically self-sustaining, self-sufficient, and then take that excess capital that we recreate, right? And then let's start generating to long-term generational wealth. Well, that's a huge gap to fill, and luckily for me, I've been guided through the process by some really successful individuals, and then I've been re-guided by other individuals that have helped me go from this part, right? So I just
now you're giving back.
Yeah, I'm definitely giving back, definitely helping individuals out, and to help give back in addition to giving back, right? It's how else can I help other individuals out with the children, right? Yeah. So help them so that way they don't get to the point of, okay, what do I do with my life? But yeah.
You mentioned the 40-40-40. Just imagine the people that have the information about real estate and start a real estate career. It might be slow at first, but
sure.
The time's going to pass anyway. And if they applied that 40-year time frame to real estate, just imagine where they'd be, because in the realm of real estate, they ultimately, in the long run, will be able to control their time and their money. Whereas at a job, they could let you go at any point.
Speaking of time, and that thing is that's very vital. Your true wealth on earth isn't the amount of capital you have in your bank account. Your true wealth on earth is the amount of time you get to control, right? I hate to say this, and it sounds ugly, but vast majority of society.
That's a big lesson.
That's a big lesson. The vast majority of society, what do? They go knock on their boss's door and say, "Boss, what do you want me to do for you for the next 40 to 60 hours of my life this week?" Not including the time you have to get up to get ready, not including the time you're stuck in traffic, but
hating it the whole time.
Hating it the whole time, right? What do you want me to do for the next 40 to 60 hours a week? Screw that.
Sure.
Screw that. Let's start off wherever you are in life, let's teach you how in your your spare time, right? Because the wealthy don't get wealthy at their jobs, right? Or whatever. They get wealthy in their spare time, right? So in your spare time, instead of watching TV, instead of watching,
it's what you do in your free time that defines you.
Exactly, right? And so let's do some things to change that, so that way when you're in the position, as time progresses, right, you can then free your family, put your family in a position to where, oh, you know what? I wake up one day and I have enough money to meet and exceed my obligations. So I was able to do that at an early age, right?
Yeah.
In my 20s. I woke up one day and I said, you know what? I don't have the FU money, but I got the screw this shit today money. I don't feel like going and having somebody tell me what to do, right?
Right.
And so, that's kind of the idea. And then as time progresses, you can figure, okay, what significance do I want to leave on this earth? Because for me, I say lucky, I had 3 really important people in my life leave this earth, right? And so what did that do for me? I was jealous of my brother because he had a funeral proceeding that was miles. I didn't know that until that time came, and I realized, the competitive nature inside of me said, I want to beat him in that. Yeah. I want to leave a legacy. Leave a legacy that's going to make the next person say, you know what did that person do on this earth that made other people miss him that much, right? And so that's a big part of what I'm trying to do with helping just one person at a time, right? That's my mission. Just anytime I'm encountering somebody, if you're looking at this video and you're saying, you know what, I'm afraid to take action, let's put it this way, anybody that I encounter should not be afraid to message me on Facebook or give me a call.
Yeah, he's very open.
I'm very open because you should, in actuality, you should be doing better than me. Because I'm one of, I didn't mention this earlier, but I'm one of 11 kids. I was dead center middle, right? One of 11 kids in the projects.
That's awesome.
I grew up, as you know, in the poor zip code in San Antonio, and I should not be where I'm at. I really shouldn't. I really shouldn't be where I'm at, but I feel that I was put on earth to accomplish things, and I feel like I was put on earth to help a tremendous amount of people out. Mm-hmm. I truly believe that, and so that's part of if you're afraid, don't be afraid. It's It's not hard. It's I can't say it's easy, but if you can do it, it's pretty easy.
Yeah, for a lot of people that are wanting to get into real estate, and this isn't even real estate, this is just in general, investing in general.
Going after your potential, right? Like that's my mission, is going after my potential. Yeah.
Fear is a big component, but fear is just a part of life, and fear, when you face fear, that's an opportunity to grow.
Exactly.
And when you think of courage.
There's that acronym, and I hate interrupting, but that's just
right,
so fear. What is the acronym for fear? False evidence.
That's right.
Or, fuck everything and run. Seriously, the way I think about it is
fight fear with action.
Yeah, fight fear with action, right? And I just run at it, right? Like if fear comes my way, there's something that I encounter that's gonna fear that I know I'm gonna be afraid of. It's kind of like when I was playing football, right? The biggest running back coming my way, I'm just gonna hit him. I'm gonna hit him as hard as I can, and I'm gonna hit him in the mouth. And that's the way I look at fear.
Yeah, fear is a big drawback, and the reason why a lot of people don't get started, because a lot of people are afraid to fail. And what people need to understand is failure is a good thing. Failure is what's going to teach you.
I'm the biggest failure you know.
Well, I mean, yeah, tell me about that, because a lot of people are afraid to fail because, all the negativity, what if I can't come back? But with failure comes the biggest lessons, and you're going to improve.
You really find out who you are in those key moments in life, right? And I'm going to revert back to the cash flow board game. That board game teaches you how to control that fear. Believe it or not, it really helps mitigate that emotion, right? And that's one thing that when I'm working with individuals, is the first thing, if I'm going to help somebody get started in real estate, I don't teach them anything in regards to real estate. the first thing I do is say, hey, look, the first thing we're going to work on is your emotional intelligence. Your emotional intelligence is a key component behind everything. I forgot who said it, and I feel bad that I
You
can't
work on
quote
the
it.
person first before you implement the real
Exactly, right? Because money's just going to make you more of who you already are.
Right.
And so if you have a fear base with your emotions, you're going to put yourself in a tough position. So it's working on those emotions is the most important aspect. And then once you control those emotions, then we can start building on teaching the fundamentals behind creating wealth, right? The fundamentals. And then you can add your own flair and finesse after you get rid of that. You're never going to get rid of fear, right? When people ask me to speak, when I taught seminars,
fear is a part of being human.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, definitely.
So let's talk about your program and your mentorship, because this is your way of giving back to individuals and teaching them how to get started, how to assess the deal, those type of things. If someone were to join in, how do you start them out? You mentioned that you did a little bit about talking about who they are and working on their emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
But what's kind of the process? What would a person expect?
They're going to expect to have access to me, unrestricted access to me. And what I mean by that is I've designed my life to cater to that. And
that's invaluable in itself.
Yeah.
Having a person that is knowledgeable and experienced and has handled the situations that you're struggling with, that you can call, text, or email at any point and get the immediate feedback, will save you tens of thousands of dollars and guide you in the right direction.
Definitely. So today's Good Friday, right? I'll tell you a little story after we get off the camera here on Good Friday, being a very, very special day for me. Some stupid stuff I did when I was a kid. But anyways.
Be careful. We have some cameras. I might sneak one in on the side.
I'll tell you what. Let's get it on there, right? No. So that unrestricted, right? So you have Easter weekend, right? And let's just say it's Easter Sunday. Chris, I'm looking at a deal. Most people, they turn their phone off at 5 o'clock on Fridays, right? My phone, what gave me that competitive advantage compared to everybody else is when your quote unquote other individual out there that's teaching turns their phone off, that's when you know you can turn to me. See, that's that differentiating factor.
Because real estate doesn't sleep.
Really, it doesn't, and you need answers. I'm looking at a deal, and I need to be able to analyze this before Easter Sunday, and everybody's off on that time, right?
After they recharge, they're ready to start looking.
Okay, they start looking. Well, what is that, Elon Musk, right? If that's where working those 100-hour weeks gives you that unfair advantage. Somebody works 40 hours a week, and the average American really works 32 hours a week. Works
but they'll
40 hours.
Swear it was 40.
There's 40 hours, right? They're clocked in for 40, right? They're being paid on a salary of 40 to 50 hours, but that 100-hour work week, right? I get to really put in almost 3 years worth of time in 1 year. 3 years worth of one time, but it's more gratifying for me to be able to put that in, because what happens is, yes, I get to help that one person out at that one point in time, but for me, I get more out of it because it solidifies my belief, and it really helps me learn at an accelerated level.
Sure.
Right? So I'm learning 3, 4, 5 times what the average individual is, because I'm always consuming, right? But I really, differentiating factor is really helping those individuals out because everybody in real estate is just the same. The mechanics are all the same.
All right.
But what's going to differentiate me from everybody else is being able to have those individuals contact me whenever they need, without having to have that time lapse, because that time lapse could be between them getting a banging deal that's going to
deals move quick.
Exactly right, and the better ones happen when everybody's resting.
Right. So people have full access to you.
Yeah.
And you teach a wide spectrum, it sounds like.
Sure.
You do a little bit of the wholesale. You talk about
flipping.
You also talk about the cash flow component.
That's vital.
So do you guide them step by step, or do you kind of have them pick which one they want to focus on, or how does that work?
That's a really important question. That's one of my favorite questions that people ask. Where do I start? Well, let's see where you at personally. Let's look at where see,
Because not everyone's the same.
So one thing I learned, right, studying individuals, I've been coached by guys that are worth hundreds of millions of dollars. I've sat down with guys that are extremely successful in the realm of capital, money-wise, right? Being effective. So where do they start? I look at it as a personal coach when it comes to when you go into the gym, right? You have a personal coach. They're not going to start you on a bodybuilding competition if you haven't lifted weights for 20, 30 years, right? It's the logic and the common sense is there. So we sit down and say, okay, where are you at right now? Where have you screwed up to get here? Let's fix this, right? And then slowly start building a strong foundation. Let's start slowly building a strong foundation. Whether it's your philosophy, whether it's the way you operate with your money on a day-to-day basis, let's help reprogram that brain. And then once we have a solid foundation with your brain, right? Because the brain is the most important component behind this.
Right.
And then we start. Let's work on those mechanics, right? Let's slowly work on those mechanics to get you to getting one deal. And then let's do 2 deals.
Yeah,
and then work to 10, 20. Because some people want to say, okay, what do I do when I get to my 10th deal? Well, shit, let's figure out how to operate and get you to spend your money the right way first.
Right.
And so one thing that it's helping them create discipline. I was the worst person in the world up until a couple years. You know, I was being stupid with my money. I was really, really, really dumb. I was buying shit that shouldn't be bought, just being as real as possible. So I learned through my mistakes, right? Mistakes made me. Really, the way I see life is mistakes made me who I am.
Yeah.
And
that's the failure part we were talking about.
That's the failure, right? Yeah, and I'm the
that.
biggest failure. If anybody out there ever says that, man, that, you know, if they point out one failure, I'm gonna point out 10 times the amount of what you're able to see. But the excuses that people make, stop them, right? And so helping those individuals realize, okay, let's recalibrate where you're at. Figure out what is your minimum, what does it take for you to survive, and any excess capital that we make, I'm gonna teach you how to take that and put into cash flow producing assets. That's the key component, is the discipline to say, okay, what does it take for me to survive, and what is it gonna take for me to get to what my goal is, right? Let's to not retire, but to walk away from the demand, other individuals, other demands on you.
Well, that's what you were saying, like creating, keeping, and then multiplying.
Yeah.
So that's pretty awesome, and you know, I really want to highlight that fact because there are a lot of programs out there, a lot of mentorship, and typically with those, they have a set program and they make the individual. This is the program. You have to fit into my program.
Yeah.
But it sounds like with you, you focus on the individual first. Like
Sure.
you said, the emotional intelligence. You figure out their situation, their past, to figure out, you know, maybe components that might have slipped them up in the past, and what are little tweaks that we can make not only in their mentality but also in their financial situation to create an opportunity to propel moving forward and catapult. So that's really exciting. That's awesome. So if people wanted to get in contact with you and find out more about what you're doing and just kind of keep in touch, how would they go about that?
The easiest way, and just because, you know, numbers change and time progresses, I would just say Facebook. Really message me on Facebook. It's Chris Carrillo, ChrisCarrillo. That's the simple, most easiest way to get a hold of me. Just send me a message, and I love everybody that comes across my way, and wherever you're at, whether you're a high school kid looking to say, man, mom, I don't want to go to college. Dad, I don't want to go to college. Screw that shit. The dogmas of what society indoctrinates you with, right? Or you have individual that says, you know what? I just got a divorce and I'm 50 years old, and how do I start over in life? I don't, so wherever you're at in the spectrum, right? 20-year-old kid or 80-year-old individual, right? Yeah, it's there's never a bad time to start over, and it's never a bad time to start, right?
The time is now.
Time is now, and all somebody needs is just a little bit of an opportunity and somebody there to help guide them in the right direction. Because nobody's perfect. I've messed up so many times in my life. I would probably have to say I'm probably the biggest failure I know, but I kid you not, I can go out there and recreate from nothing, because I've been blessed to start with nothing, right? One thing I live by is when you lose everything, you have nothing to lose, so you fear losing nothing, so you go after everything, right? And so I love helping people out, almost to a fault sometimes, but at the same time, it's kind of what's gotten me to where I'm at right now, right? It's an incredible journey.
It's all about the people, for sure.
It
Real
definitely
estate is a people business.
Yeah.
So they can contact you on Facebook. He's fully accessible, and he also posts a lot of fun things too. So
yeah, stay tuned for all. I'm always putting videos on from the next property that I get. I'm really low key right now. Normally I have a lot more energy. So if you, whenever we're sitting down and talking, this is not the normal me. You get a little bit more excitement.
And not only that, I mean, you don't only talk about real estate. You'll talk about the next book you're reading or last book you've read.
Yeah, I'm always reading. I'm now with Audible. I was talking to Martha here that I'm about a good 5 hours a day on personal development.
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, the average billionaire reads 3 to 4 hours a day. Well, I said, screw that shit. Let me go after 5 hours a day of personal development. So yeah, it's always hey, what are your goals and what can I do to help? And I think my goal is to be worth $10 billion when it's all said and done.
All right.
All right. So what if I fall short of that by 100-fold? I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at.
That's amazing. So, is there a final message, final piece of advice for anyone that's watching, maybe even the newer person or the older person about getting started and just going out there in the world and pursuing their purpose and their passion?
Yeah, definitely. The parting gift that I would give you is something.
Gift. I like
the parting gift that I would give is. Oprah said, "You are not allowed to have a dream if you are not built to fulfill it. Find out what that gift in you is and go after it. And don't be afraid to fail because failures happen. They make you who you are."
Do whatever it takes for your dream.
Yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Well, thank you very much. This was Today's Investor. You can see more episodes at Bella Buyers on Facebook. Make sure to connect with Chris Carrillo on Facebook. It'll be definitely worth it. Reach out to him, find out about his program, his mentorship, and you'll greatly appreciate the information that he gives and the mentorship he gives throughout the entire process. Enjoy your day. Thank you. Appreciate it.